What's up, YouTube Live? We're about a couple minutes away from showtime. Thank you. I'm trying to get my projection voice out. Forgot I got to talk into the microphones.
Hello, YouTube.
Hello, YouTube.
WNBC.
Check. Ev, can we get a soundboard check when you get a chance? Yo. Gonna cop that. Yay, Pooga. Yeah, the DeSean Jackson shirt just dropped today. Did you see it? Yeah. Tomorrow they're having a sale on the t-shirts for the first time. They're doing like $13 a shirt. Everything is that 30% off is gonna be fuck.
I'll cop that one tomorrow.
Yeah. You guys ready?
Testing. Whoa. Testing.
Hi. Let's get a soundboard check before we go live.
Mic check. Where's my towel? Oh.
Josh Jacobs running a 4.6 today. See all that?
Soundboard check, Mr. Taylor.
The guy out of Alabama.
Okay. That's not good.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Josh Jacobs ran a 4.6 at his pro day.
Deuce was there for the pro day.
He was he looked like he was in heat back there.
Jeff Mosher said that the Eagles are really high on him.
Yeah.
On Jacobs?
That almost.
Welcome, boys and girls, to 4th and JAWN, episode 90, broadcasting live from Wildfire Sports Studios for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Before we get into the episode today, make sure you subscribe and give us a rating, one of those 5-star ratings up there on iTunes. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 4th and JAWN and give us a like on Facebook. Boys and girls, there is a lot that's transpired between the last time you and I have talked and now, because the Eagles have made some significant moves, and I am so happy at all the moves they have made, and we have plenty of time to go into each and every one of them. But before I dive into this episode right here, I just want to take a minute to get a little loose on the rest of the NFC East. Because, listen, I don't understand what exactly each one of these teams is doing. I mean, I know what they're doing, but I really don't understand in free agency what the Redskins, the Giants, and the Cowboys are doing. And I'm trying to take, the NFC East hate away from it and give it to an analytical eye to see, try to understand what they're doing. Playing devil's advocate, trying to see it from their perspective. Let's start with the New York Giants, right up the Jersey Turnpike there. For a second there, I almost thought, for a millisecond, for a fraction of a moment, I almost thought that maybe the New York Giants were doing the right thing. Sure, they picked up Eli Manning's $5 million option for 2019 at 38 years old, making him the third highest paid QB in 2019. But really, what other option did they have? Are they in the draft position to go get themselves a quarterback? Did they really want to be players in a weak free agency class, albeit Nick Foles was out there, but did they really want to go forward with that? So I understood where they were coming from, even though they're Eli Manning's making $11,500,000 this year. Sort of understood it. They trade Odell Beckham, who they signed to a 5-year extension in August of 2018 for 5 years, $90 million with a $20 million signing bonus for a first, a third, and Jabril Peppers, who is Pro Football Focus's 19th ranked best safety in 2018. But I kind of understand it. I mean, if you're going to depart eventually from Eli Manning and bring in a rookie quarterback, do you really want a rookie kind of dealing with Odell? Why don't you use that sort of draft capital to bring back more youth into it? I sort of understand it. Now, they let Landon Collins go. They let him walk in the name of an $11 million franchise tag without using him for draft capital, which I really can't understand that one. And despite the fact that the Giants also sent their best pass rusher to the Browns in exchange for an offensive guard with nary a Pro Bowl selection in his 7-year career to help settle in an offensive line who they already overspent on Nate Soldier to be the highest paid left tackle, I sort of understood what they were doing. And then they signed Golden Tate, a 30-plus-year-old slot receiver when they already have a slot receiver. Clearly, for a second there, even though David Gettleman looks like a dude who licks windows, I thought for a second he might actually know what he's talking about. But no, the Giants are going to be horrendous. They're going to be horrendous for a while, and quite frankly, I'm thankful that Gettleman's in the position that he is running that team. Dallas Cowboys, what you been up to? Nothing much. Understandable. Hey, you got yourself Jason Witten, a geriatric tight end coming back to the team who was so bad in the broadcast booth, he made Booger McFarland seem palatable.
Good observation.
I mean, he got Randall Cobb to a 1-year deal. That's all well and good. That's a fine move. But you guys have put yourself in a position where you were walking in the free agency, number 1 in the NFC East in salary cap room, and you can't spend any of it. Why? This is important, Eagles fans, why you draft high-character guys. Randy Gregory gets suspended after his 4th strike in the NFL. 4th strike in the NFL, putting them in a position where they have to franchise tag Lawrence. They have to do it. Now, the salary cap that you were going to allocate towards signing free agents, maybe an Earl Thomas, right out the window. All because you let Randy Gregory have that 4th opportunity, which, by the way, I'm still arguing with Cowboys fans on because they seem to think that suspended indefinitely means 1 or 2 games.
I warn you.
No, you'll be lucky if you see that dude at all next year. You'll be lucky if you see that dude at all. You can't spend any money, both in the Lawrence situation, and let us not forget, they need to save. They need to save. They need to squirrel away so much salary cap room because you have Dak coming up on a contract. You have Zeke coming up on a contract. Look, it's amazing to get your franchise running back and your franchise quarterback all in one draft. There's a downside to that, which is you got to pay both those guys. You got a 1st-round pick invested into Zeke Elliott, 1 year left on his contract. You got a 3rd-round pick invested into Dak Prescott. He also has 1 year left on his contract. And then you traded away a 1st-round pick for Amari Cooper, who, guess what? 1 year left on his contract. So are they going to be able to pay all those guys? I don't know. Maybe they figure out how. But that is going to handcuff them moving forward if they want to build this team around those 3 at all whatsoever. And the Washington Redskins, for the life of me, I cannot figure out what the hell you're doing. I can't figure out what you're doing. You're going into the season with Colt McCoy and Case Keenum as your quarterbacks. Imagine what it must feel like being a Redskins fan, already knowing at this point in the season, a week after free agency, that it's over, Johnny. It's over. Are you trying to resurrect the soul of who was the safety's name?
Sean Taylor.
Sean Taylor by signing Landon Collins?
And then giving him his number?
Giving him his number. That was an odd move.
What are you trying to do? Put butts in seats just based off of that. You signed Eric Flowers. Congratulations. You could have saved yourself the money, went to Home Depot, bought a road cone, and just put it there in its place. I don't know what the rest of the NFC East is doing. I don't understand it. I'm happy about it because it makes no sense to me, but all I know is the Philadelphia Eagles got better from the last time I spoke to you guys. They got better. The rest of the NFC East, not so much. Mr. Gail Saunders, Eagle Sessions on Twitter, how you doing?
Doing phenomenal. I think, after hearing that, your
monologue.
I feel good about us being in the NFC East and who we're playing against, but I also feel good about what Howie has done. He's taken care of his own. He did pay, Darby some money after looking at what he paid him. That's a reasonable deal. But I feel good that we have a vertical threat back. We have in DeSean Jackson. We have Malik Jackson, who is, I think that was the one position that the Eagles needed to address right away, and they did so. So you have that 1-2 punch there. You still can hit that area in the draft. You have to feel good going into the draft, knowing that they've started covering their bases. They signed Sendejo for that third safety. So now we're going in the draft with not really that many needs. I mean, we do have needs, but we still have that one position that Eagle fans.
Oh my God.
I've been talking about for weeks on weeks on weeks about the running back position. But please, people in Philadelphia or Philadelphia fans of whatever, you have to trust the process. You have to know that Howie Roseman has something up his sleeve. So fans, relax. They're gonna make it happen. Or whether
but for real, it's legitimate concern. It's
understandable.
It's understandable. It is warranted because right now, who are the running backs that are healthy on this roster that you're going into with? You got Wendell Small. No, ACL, bro. ACL, bro. You're going into it.
But he's on the roster, though.
But he's on the roster, but he's not going to be ready.
Yeah, what does that mean? His name's on the roster. His leg not ready.
Wendell Smallwood, man. Old Navy.
Wendell Smallwood.
In the house.
Josh Adams. Those are your top two running backs going in. Like, listen, I get it.
There's a trade in the works. I feel it.
Do you?
Maybe. There might be a trade. There might be a trade in the works.
Listen, if they don't make... Like, I'm willing to reserve judgment on the running back position until everything plays itself out. So I'm not going to sit here and panic over the fact that Wendell Smallwood and Josh Adams are your 1-2 punch. And if you have any interest in taking pressure off of Carson Wentz and making sure he doesn't get injured again for a third straight year, you need to have a viable running game to take the pressure off of him and know those RPOs and those run plays are going to work. So looking at those two, not happy about it.
Yeah.
If the Eagles go into the draft and in the first 3 picks, that's 1 first-rounder and 2 second-rounders, if they don't draft a running back that can at least play the workhorse role, say it with your chest, I'm going to be a little concerned.
I mean, there are guys there. I mean, even looking at like the pre-draft visits, and I look at those closely. I mean, if you're looking at the list, there's only one guy that's really close to the first round. That would be Josh Jacobs. I don't know if that's the way that they're going. I know his stock might dip a little bit running the 4.6. I don't know. But they're doing their homework on guys in the 2nd to 3rd round. And then after that, it's, day 3 guys. So I think them doing their homework, there's going to be a guy maybe in that 2nd pick, that the 2nd pick in the 2nd round, with a pretty solid guy. If Josh Jacobs does fall to him in the 2nd round, that would be even perfect. But they're going to handle it. There are still guys out there. Guys like Spencer Ware is out there, guy who's familiar with Doug's system. LeGarrette Blount is still out there.
Okay.
Jay Jai he's on the road with the Colts this week. I don't know.
Look at this dude.
Actually, tomorrow he has a meeting with them.
This is doing absolutely nothing for my confidence.
Darren Sproles is still out there.
He's doing okay. Listen, out of all of them, look, you can either bring back LeGarrette Blount, you can bring back Jay Ajayi, you can bring back Darren Sproles. I wouldn't mind to see Sprolesy back. I think he gave the offense a little bit of a pep, especially at the end of the season. Yeah. And sort of like a DeSean Jackson role where it's like, look, he might be a little older, but he hasn't lost anything speed-wise. Like, if you're going to bring back anybody, you bring back Darren Sproles, but I still need to get that workhorse running back.
Marshawn Lynch is out there.
Oh,
That's
that would be entertaining.
TJ
entertaining.
Yeldon's still out there. CJ Anderson's still out there.
ugh.
Hy Montgomery, Isaiah Crowell.
Oh, Isaiah Crowell.
Alfred Blue.
Oh my God. Hollywood Hearn, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. I'm in the same boat as everybody else with the running back situation. I feel really confident about what the Eagles have been doing this entire offseason. We are far and away making the best moves, I think, in the NFC East. The running back, obviously, is still the glaring issue to me. DeSean Jackson being back, though, God,
Yeah,
guys, this is phenomenal news. Like, I was so hyped to hear. I was so happy, man. Like, and he's coming back not only at, like, he doesn't have to be relied on as a number one wide receiver with Alshon Jeffrey being on the other side. Nelson Aguilar could flourish more in the slot. Like, it just fits the offense so well. One last thing, you left out a certain Cowboy in your opening monologue.
Who was that?
David Irving.
Oh,
Mr. Apparently he had a conversation with Jason Garrett about he wanted to smoke weed or something during the offseason.
Yeah, just
Jason
quit
Garrett
smoke weed.
said to him, just quit and smoke weed.
Just quit and smoke weed.
And that's exactly what he
took
did.
him up on. Took him up on.
He
Thanks,
called
boss.
his bluff.
But also he was smoking the weed on IG Live.
Yeah.
I actually watched it. It was kind of crazy but refreshing. I mean, he was like spilling the beans, like he was giving the tea. Actually was dealing with a lot of concussions, so he's actually pushing the narrative, for that to be medical marijuana to be used in the NFL. And if that was the case, he might come back to the NFL. But he was just like lighting up like nobody's business. But also Tyrone Crawford got arrested. Didn't he?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's good.
Randy Gregory with the suspension.
These Cowboys need
David
chaperones
Irving
in the offseason, man.
Crawford could get suspended.
But this is why this is important. I mean, you hear the argument.
character.
You hear the argument so much. It's like, I don't care what he does off the field. I don't care what kind of guy he is, as long as he performs on the field. Yada yada yada. Until a move like Randy Gregory getting suspended, all of a sudden has a trickle down effect on everything else you're doing. And correct me if I'm wrong. And I think I'm right on this. I mean, the Cowboys were in like the top 10 as far as available cap was concerned going into free agency. So here's a team that won the NFC East, that got to the divisional round of the playoffs, that at least as Eagles fans, you look at and you push aside the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins as bottom basement dwellers, and you're going to be duking it out with the Cowboys for the next 5 years, battling for the NFC East, and all of a sudden a move like this handcuffs them into Lawrence, which then again, they need to squirrel away money because they got all these guys with expiring contracts and rookie deals. And look, they might be able to sign all of them. But again, if Jerry Jones, and he did promise Dak Prescott, that big contract, you got Zeke, who, what we already saw what Dak Prescott was without Zeke. Yeah, it's not much.
And if Zeke was smart, he would push for a contract. I know Pro Football Talk was talking about Zeke pushing the market. Give me my money now. Like, you can hold them in limbo right now because you need him.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is like, okay, you can exercise, and I'm not sure if they did, a fifth-year option on first-round picks, right? Dak was a third-round pick. Am I right?
Yep.
Third or fourth? Third?
I believe fourth.
Whatever he was, that's a 4-year contract. So you got to get him first. You got to get him first, and you got to sign him to a big deal. Jerry Jones already promised it.
Fourth round,
and then you already invested a first-round pick in Amari Cooper, who already has an expiring contract. I think they can pick up the fifth round. I don't know. I got to look into this. Either way, you've got 3 year top offensive stars needing big money contracts. Like consecutively, that's a bad spot to be in.
And
this is a good thing though.
They've got
it's a good thing for us. That's a bad thing for them.
They've got no first round pick in a supposed historic defensive line draft when they've got the Randy
58.
Gregory and the David Irving thing going down. So like you're saying, they're not even going to be able to supplement that with top tier talent.
Combine that, and I love we just bring it right back to the Cowboys.
Number 58, but guess who picks in front of them in the second round? We do.
Oh, we can Dallas Goddard them again.
I was going to say, Dallas Goddard
them. Yeah. One more time. I hope we get that defensive end like right in front of him. It just pisses you. And then they pan to Jerry Jones in the Cowboys war room, and he's just all puss-faced like he was last year.
The Cowboys were actually looking at Robert Quinn as well. They might trade for him. I saw on the TL. He was visiting.
Good. More picks.
Yeah.
More investments. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
It's perfect. But I want to start talking about the Eagles' moves. And the one that you brought up right away is one that I'm super excited about, Malik Jackson. All right, 3 years, $30 million, $17 million guaranteed. Was benched last year. All right, big free agent signing coming out of Denver, one of the top defensive tackles in the league. Goes to Jacksonville, lights it up his first year. Had some problem. Maybe he wasn't playing the run. It was real weird to see him at the press conference, kind of. Not dance around, directly answer it, but also go, listen, it is what it is. You got to talk to the coaches over there as to why I was benched. But you take a guy like that, it almost seemed like that would be motivation to him. Like, I got benched. I was the high-priced free agent signing to Jacksonville, and I got benched. And now I'm able to come to the Philadelphia Eagles and kind of redeem himself. And he is a pass rush, interior pass rush specialist. Part of the reason he said he got benched was he didn't play the run very well, which is a little bit of a concern, especially when you think, okay, you've got, Fletcher Cox, pass rushing, going to take on a double team, but more of a pass rushing interior defensive lineman, one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
And then Malik Jackson, like, how are you going to play the run, especially when middle linebacker is a little bit in flux in the middle there. But if you watch that dude's highlights, 2017, getting after the quarterback, wow.
Yeah.
We all saw how strong this defensive line was with Timmy Jernigan when Timmy Jernigan was playing at the peak of his game. It was tough to beat.
Yeah. I think the key thing is here, like, all we need is one guy to beat one-on-one matchups. And you got Malik Jackson there for the taking. That's where he can start bullying some of these guys when, Fletcher Cox is eating up all the attention. I mean, it's key.
And then you can start running interior stunts. We had our dude Trey Thomas in here last season talking about the ETs and the TEs. And when you start moving guys around like that, which, by the way, Michael Bennett used to do a lot of early on in last season, kind of lining up in that pass rushing defensive tackle position and looping around one way or the other. That's going to confuse a lot of defense or offensive linemen, especially when he's that quick. They're so quick in the interior. And I can't help but look back at last year, bringing up the Cowboys again. Reason why the Cowboys were so successful against the New Orleans Saints was that they had that interior pressure to make Drew Brees feel uncomfortable. Can't see over the line. He has to move off of his spot. That's how you get to Drew Brees, and he didn't have a good game. Now, granted, if they play that game again, maybe the Saints win it 6 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times, but that was the key to their success. Moving on to the playoffs against the Saints, Eagles had Timmy Jernigan. So I mean that played a role in the whole thing, and them being able to at least shut down the Saints in the first half. I feel like that was a big part of it.
I mean, wouldn't that be something if Timmy Jernigan's out there looking for a contract, and he doesn't get what he's looking for, and he comes back? That would be even more lethal to have him coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Well, the one concern I have with all of it, really, as far as the defensive line goes, is more along the lines of depth, and talking about the offensive line too. I like it's almost like the Sixers. Like, you like your starting 5, but beyond that, you go, I don't know about the bench, dude. Yeah. I don't know about the bench. Like, let's take a look at the offensive line. Jason Peters restructures his deal, does the right thing by the Eagles, frees up some salary cap room so they can go and be players. But Jason Peters has been checking himself out of games, a lot of games, leaving early, being injured, raising his hand, checking himself out, putting in a cold Vitae in there to then get swamped. Then you have, Brooks tearing his Achilles at the end of the year, man, was like a heartbreaker.
It is.
When that dude's healthy, he is so reliable at a all-pro, Pro Bowl level. He is the man. But he's not, barring some freakish healing process where he travels overseas and gets something injected into his Achilles.
Yeah, but for a guy that size, too.
I can't imagine him being ready for the beginning of the season. That's a huge concern. Jason Kelce, thank God, signs an extension, puts to bed any of the rumors about him retiring. But still, what was that, like a 3-year deal that Jason Kelce signed?
Yep. It was a 1-year extension, I believe.
Okay, so it's a 1-year extension. I know there's opt-ins.
Right.
So you can opt in beyond that. So, and really the only one that you have locked down is like Lane Johnson. So you're starting 5 real strong, even though you'll get Brooks back. But it's like, what, say Malu, okay.
They got to get younger. They got to interject some youth. I think, if you're looking at, a lineman, a versatile lineman, the Eagles are at Oklahoma. They were at Oklahoma's pro day, and a guy like Cody Ford, a guy who could interject that kind of youth into the lineup. But they're going to do their homework, and then you got Milata.
I was going to say they've been asking him to put on weight as well.
Yeah, and then you have Matt Pryor as well, another guy who was ready at the end of the season. Like he was ready, he thought he was going to play at the end of the season.
And he'll play tackle as well, right?
He has that tackle versatility, but he can play guard as well. So obviously they might have some ideas for Matt Pryor.
Some diamonds in there, some diamonds in the rough behind the guys. They still need to add depth. You know what I mean? Like I think that Jordan's like another year off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pryor, who a lot of people were high on last training camp. They thought, we talked to Jimmy Kempski, who was pounding the table for this guy. Like this guy's legit. He's the real deal.
And he played with Big V. They played together at TCU. So,
but I still have I still get nervous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're one injury away. We're one Jason Peters going down for the season away from oh man, I don't know about it. And same thing goes with the defensive line. Like you look at Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson,
Barnett,
and then Barnett coming off of injury. That's great. This is a Jim Schwartz defense that relies heavily on rotation. Right. Rotation. Chris Long, I mean, we started talking to him on Twitter and stuff like that. Sounds like he's got some decisions to make. And even he put off his bonus, his roster, but he pushed it off just to kind of delay that, to see that decision, to kind of wait, and maybe after the draft make his decision. But he doesn't sound like he's a lock to come back.
Still a question mark.
Still a question mark.
Already lost Michael Bennett.
So you already traded away Michael Bennett. Yeah. So where's your rotation? That's what I'm getting at. Like, where's the rotation? Again, Sixers point, starting 5, absolutely love it. That's championship caliber. The depth on it, who's coming off the bench? You know what I mean? That's a little bit of concern.
I also heard that the Eagles have been in touch with Curry as well. So
really?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind that.
That could be interesting. They're in touch with him. So if he's out there trying to work the numbers and see what he gets with other people, he can come back to the Eagles and hey, this is the number. You know where he wants to play.
Right.
Would love to come back. But if you can get Curry to come back, there you go. The guy off the bench right there.
Were you surprised that they brought back Ronald Darby?
I was. It's one of those points where I was like, that was a move that prior to the move even being reported, I didn't want it to happen. Coming off an ACL tear, I'm just not, I'm not glowing about anyone coming off an ACL tear who's playing a position where you have to go
quick
backwards.
Cut position, yeah.
But the key thing about the Ronald Darby thing is the healing process has really gone well. So they must have got a glowing report. I guess the ACL tear was clean, a clean tear.
ACL tears is still an ACL.
But I guess there's certain tears that the healing process has looked good. So if the Eagles do their due diligence, if the healing process is going well, then maybe we get them back sooner than thought. And at the price is
you can't
okay
complain about
for
the
me.
price.
8.5, but that's not guaranteed. I think it's around 6.5.
It is Ronald Darby, 1 year,
6.5.
6.5. 4 or 5 guaranteed.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
And listen, you'll remember in an earlier podcast that I said out of all the free agents to be, I thought that Ronald Darby would be the one that would come back. Because he's coming off of injury. Even though he was rated as probably the top free agent corner, he was coming off of injury. And look, I realize we got guys like Rasul Douglas and Cravon and Maddox who played well. But there is a stark contrast between starting caliber and played well considering.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Is Jalen Mills still starting cornerback on this team?
Yes. Getting back to the point. Avonte Maddox, all right, played well considering he was a rookie. You're talking about, what, a day 3 pick?
4th round.
Yeah, day 3 pick. Was plugged into safety. at a necessity.
Nickel,
played
safety, corner.
Yeah, played all of it. Played well considering. And I'm a big Maddox guy. I think, as the years go on and we see this guy develop into his role and really a jack of all trades, that's the type of guy that Eagles fans are going to fall in love with. They're going to love this guy. He's gritty. Not that gritty, but you know what I mean? He's smaller, but he's tough.
Scrappy.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. He's scrappy. He's a guy that Eagles fans are going to appreciate. I'm rooting for him. Doesn't mean he's a starting outside corner right now. Cravon played well considering he was off a practice squad, off the Bears practice squad, correct?
Yep.
Played well considering he was kind of thrown into a role that he may not have been ready for. Played well considering that he didn't have any sort of repertoire with his teammates, didn't know the communication, didn't know what it was like to play alongside these guys. Rasul Douglas played well considering he was a backup. You know what I mean? Led the team, I mean, not to brag, but led the team with like 3 interceptions. Okay, whatever. Those guys played well considering. Let us not forget that the injuries last year absolutely decimated that secondary and was a major factor in the fact that the Eagles were struggling and just barely clawing the 500 midway through the season. Let us not forget Jalen Mills is coming off of a broken foot. Let us not forget that Sidney Jones, right, the hamstring, he was playing well in the soft tissue injuries, right? So let's not forget he's coming off injury. And of course, the aforementioned Ronald Darby coming off of the ACL tear. So bringing Darby back to me at least makes sense because you have 3 starting caliber cornerbacks that if one of them happens to go down, you've got a group of guys who can play well considering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
it's
another interesting tidbit.
Yes, you can't have enough good corners, period.
Another interesting tidbit about that, Ronald Darby also mentioned the relationships that he had with the secondary group. He said they were super tight. It was one of the
and they are
one of the main reasons why he came back. He did take a stop at Kansas City, but he left there with no contract, and he's back.
One of the lasting images I'll have of there's a lot of them, but one of the lasting images I'll have of the 2018 season is when, to bring it back to the Cowboys, when the ball bounces off of Rasul Douglas's hands as he's trying to make a play. Just a freakish act of God, ends up in Amari Cooper's hand. And who was all there to console him? The rest of the DBs. There was Jalen Mills.
Tight group, man.
And when you see all those pictures of them, posing and stuff like that, who is it? It's the DBs. It's a tight group. So I don't mind going into the 2019 season with the same group of starters as the 2018 season, knowing full well that each one of those starters is coming off an injury, and then you have 3 guys behind him that can play well considering.
Those 3 guys like Darby, Mills, and Sidney Jones remind me of like the Migos of the secondary. You know what I mean? They could be in a rap group together. They just all interchangeably have their own like different attitudes and swag. So I think, we just have to hope that, all those guys are coming off injuries. And that's a real deal.
That's a big deal.
The funny thing about all these mock drafts, you see all these big NFL draft analysts keep mocking cornerbacks to us in the first round. It's super interesting.
Is that just lazy journalism?
I don't,
or do they think like that's going to happen?
I think some people do. I mean, but I keep seeing Byron Murphy as a guy that keeps being mocked. I mean, he's a pretty solid talent, great awareness, not the best athlete, but great IQ. Another Washington corner. But it's interesting to see that these guys keep mocking a corner. I think with all these guys on rookie contracts and reasonable deals with Darby, I think it's a time for them to test out who they have and who they might have to let go of in the next couple months. But you guys, they're not paying a lot at the position right now.
No, not at all. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is Jalen's last contracted year, right?
This is his last year.
So it'll be Darby's. So, I mean, instead of throwing one of those...
2 more. Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Sidney Jones.
Sidney. So there's going to be some decisions to make. Either way, we saw what can happen quickly to an Eagles season when a defensive secondary goes down the toilet. Avoid that again. I have absolutely no problem bringing a guy like Darby back, thinking he'll be okay for the for training camp and all that. No problem with it at all. And then you said it, Hollywood, when you first got on the microphone. DeSean Jackson, dude. Yeah. I mean that's the one that you say it, people start smiling, man. DeSean Jackson is back in the building, and the benefit to that is, look, the Eagles have had a formula over the last couple years that I don't know why they would get away from it. They brought in Torrey Smith to be that speed outside burner. Did it work out? They won a Super Bowl. As far as Torrey's individual performance, did it work out? A little bit. Okay. They traded him after the season, but it wasn't what we expected it to be. Then they bring in Mike Wallace, another speed veteran receiver.
Got cut short with the broken leg.
Cut short with the broken leg. But now you bring home DeSean Jackson, who led the league last year in yards per catch. According to everybody that you talk to, all the reporters in Philadelphia, the reporters nationally say that dude hasn't lost a step whatsoever.
Well, if you look at the one stat I saw earlier, 15% of his touches, he reached 20 miles an hour. That was the highest. That was most amongst any player in the NFL.
Dude still got wheels. I mean,
he's still hitting 20 miles an hour, man.
It's funny to see the average Eagle fan out there who just they're just stuck in their ways about certain things. Discredit DeSean Jackson for what he does that's what he does. That's where he wins vertically. That's where he wins. Like, he's elite in that specific trait. I mean, 18.9 was his yards per catch. You look at Mike Wallace, his last year play 14.4, and Torrey Smith 11.2. You get what you pay for. So the Eagles really knew where they were lacking in the offense, and it shows.
And one of the things that is key to DeSean coming back, that was like one of the first things I thought of. DeSean Jackson used to make it a point to just blow us up every time he played against us.
Yeah,
that's one thing we don't have to deal with anymore. Is DeSean going for 130 and a couple touchdowns against us?
Well, that's the beauty of it. His effect on the field may not come through statistics. You know what I mean? We don't need him to be a volume possession receiver. That's not his game.
Catch me 4 balls a game. I'm good. 3 balls, 76 yards. I'm good.
Yeah, beautiful.
Push the safeties
back.
But
more importantly, like, if you're playing defense and they come out nickel, like, and you have DeSean Jackson on Zach Ertz's side, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be tough for teams to pull what they pulled last year on Zach Ertz and on Alshon Jeffrey, because they were singling those guys out, especially Zach Ertz. Because what are you going to do? You're going to bring down the safety and double up on Zach? You're really going to risk that on DeSean's side when he can blow right by that corner? All DeSean needs is a couple inches of separation, and he's gone.
I mean, all those guys that are successful, I mean, Alshon, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, they're intermediate route guys who win in that area.
Yeah.
You add DeSean Jackson over the top, hey, there's a lot more space than there was last year. I mean, that's insane. It makes me sleep well at night.
Trox and I went to like a Chalk Talk event down at the NovaCare complex. We were listening to a couple of coaches talk, and one of them was the assistant linebackers. The assistant running backs coach. And one of the things that he said, and Gail, you and I brought it up on the YouTube channel, was that in 2016, when Doug Peterson took over the offense, there was only 2 or 3 RPO plays in the entire playbook. And when they did the RPO plays, it was the same 2 or 3 plays over and over and over again. When during the 2017 season, Doug expanded that to like 70% of the playbook, the active playbook on game day, because it was working so effectively. He broke down film for us. There was dudes, when the ball was being hand off, linebackers dropping off in the coverage. Nobody knew how to work this. Nobody knew how to defend this. And then in 2018, defensive started to catch on. The way you kind of defend against this RPO-based offense is that you square up man-to-man on them, and you make them decide for you. So instead of reading, like the quarterback reading you make the decision for the quarterback, and then everybody else on the defense is on the same page. But it was specifically towards man-to-man is how you defend the RPO. You really going to go man-to-man against DeSean? You really going to play that game?
It's Russian roulette.
Yeah, that's Russian roulette. Now all of a sudden defense has got to start playing a little bit more honest.
Respect.
Yeah, you got to respect the
on
deep game. Got to respect the deep game. Michael Bennett trade, real quick. I know this is kind of old news. Did it surprise you?
It didn't surprise me, especially after he had said something. I felt like once they paid Brandon Graham, I felt like if Brandon Graham walks, Howie Roseman had Bennett in the wings and could finagle that.
There's going to be one or the other.
That was his wild card. So you got Brandon Graham back, and then he said that on TV.
I think once money.
Once he heard he was shopped, that probably could have offended him if that's the first time he heard it. But they got some picks back.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucked to see a guy with 9 sacks. Yeah, a productive guy go. But there had to have been a little bit more to the story than
some locker room, maybe
some locker room stuff. Like, I don't know anything, but for him to just for them to hear, for us to hear that he was being shopped out in Indianapolis at the Combine, for him to go on Good Morning Football and say what he said, especially about the money.
Our friends at Good Morning Football.
Yeah, Kyle Brandt and them. Like, it was almost like the writing was on the wall right then and there, and boom, he gets traded. Tough. 9 sacks is going to be tough to replace from arguably your best edge pass rusher on the team. But again, draft, historic defensive line draft,
But then also looking at the type of player Michael Bennett, super prideful. Obviously, respect for being prideful in what you do, but is he a guy that wants to come off the bench? Does he want to share snaps when he was that productive, knowing that he wants to get paid? He should be. He could have a fight to start. So could they have the beginning of the season where Bennett was like upset that he wasn't getting that playing time that he wanted? That could be an issue. What they thought that came into their thoughts when they moved on from him.
You ready to kick it a little old school? Because we're bringing back the Twitter questions.
Or don't kick.
We're going to bring it back.
No.
We are going to bring it back.
Tell me how good this
hey,
feels
Trox,
right now.
give us some Twitter questions.
Okay, we got some questions from the Twitter people. At Classic Jeff, what position, not player, will the Birds draft in the first round?
Yeah, well, that's a great question for you.
I mean, it's historic defensive line draft, defensive tackle.
Would it shock you if they went running back? Like, would it absolutely floor you if they went running back?
It would shock me. I wouldn't say it would shock me, but I just feel like it would be, there's been rumors of them being super interested in Josh Jacobs at 25. Could that be a smokescreen? Because guess who picks in front of the Eagles?
Who?
The Raiders. Oh. Who want a running back. So if you keep talking about Eagles want a running back, they go and get that running back, and you get your.
Plus, the Eagles play their cards so tight to the vest, especially when it comes to the draft. I mean, there are guys that have had multiple visits and stuff like that, but usually in the first round, I mean, they'll kind of throw some curveballs at you. They play that real close to the vest. So to hear so much interest in a certain player or a certain position is a little un-Howie-like.
Yeah.
Un-Howie-like.
And they were doing their homework for, they were at Josh Jacobs' pro day today.
That was my next question. A lot of people asked about him. Your thoughts around the board on that?
About Josh Jacobs?
Yes.
Josh Jacobs has an all-around skill set. Doesn't have that many miles on his belt. He's a willing blocker. He's effective in the pass game. I just think run that 4.6. He's not the super athletic, but he's his overall skill set is interesting and intriguing. And Nick Saban called him their best overall back.
Does he catch passes out of the backfield?
Yeah, and then
do that?
He offers you special teams ability. He's a kick returner as well. But he's got a six skill set.
He seems like a guy that could definitely contribute on the team, but just based off of all of the defensive talent that's in this draft, I think that I almost would like if the Eagles went with a running back with the second round pick to the 4th round pick. I feel like there's still some depth at the running back position in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the first round and you see that, there's defensive line talent there.
Right.
Like, I'd rather have a defensive line talent versus, knowing that I have guys in the second round that could, if I'm looking at running backs, I know there's some guys in the second round that could offer me some kind of talent.
Right.
that are explosive, like a Darrell Henderson.
Right.
That are getting pushed back because
Right. In a Devin Singletary at the end of the second, perhaps, or the third, or whatever.
Right.
But why am I going to skip out on a defensive tackle that's right there for the taking?
Right.
In the first round.
Let me ask you this, Gail, because the combine's one thing. Some guys will run a slow 40, although they've been training it and they know what's coming. They've been training it. They have independent trainers that teach them how to run these 40 times. And then you get to the pro day, and correct me if I'm wrong, but players, prospects normally do a little bit better on their pro day because they're in a controlled environment. They're at home. They're
maybe not as tired. I mean, combine's stressful.
Yeah, combine's stressful. A lot of waiting around and stuff like that. You're at home. You're doing your thing. 4.6 is slow, is it not?
I mean, for a running back, it's kind of like if you run a 4.6, it's
because I keep hearing this guy in the 20s somewhere. Does running a 4.6 specifically at your pro day? Is that enough to knock you into the second round?
I wouldn't say it's gonna knock him. Like his tape, people were excited by what he's put on the field. But looking at a 4.6, all right, he's not gonna be a home run threat. But you got to have a plan in place for the player. Like if you see a player that fits your offense, that's where you're looking at. Players run slow 40 times. I mean, it's what did Emmitt Smith run?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was around there. I mean, other running backs have run like 4.
That's an honest question from not a draft guy. How much will a slow 40 time like that, slow-ish 40 time, kind of knock you back?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that he ran a 4.6. I thought it'd be at least 4.5s.
Okay. Oh wait, what's the next question, Trox?
Okay, we got this one from @Mark4G. Who gets more run this year? Nelly in the 11 personnel or Goddard in the 12 personnel?
Who gets more what?
Who gets more looks? Because with the personnel, you're going to have one's got to get off the field, one's getting on the field. Who's going to get more looks throughout the season?
They don't play 12 enough to really warrant, that look. Nelly's going to get the looks. Because 11 personnel is like the standard. Like everybody's practically one running back, one tight end, 3 wide receivers. That's everybody's running that. That's like everybody's base offensive package. I would like to see them run a lot more 12. Every time they've done it, it's been effective.
But it's been obvious. Every time when Aguilar gets on the field when he's not playing all the time, it's obvious they do something gimmick with him or it's going his direction. I noticed that through last season. But $9 million. What's your thoughts on that? He's getting $9 million this year.
I mean, they still could actually give him a deal if they want to, renegotiate.
Yeah, there's still an opportunity.
Opportunity right there.
There's still an opportunity.
I mean, he's going to get his targets, and I think it's going to be a little bit easier with a guy like D-Jax on the field as well.
Yeah, good.
@JVogs, sorry if I butchered that. We already touched on the cornerbacks and the D-backs, but who would, right now, for the record, who would be your starting cornerbacks right now? Injuries included, obviously.
I guess they really have to try Sidney out, man. Like you got to see what you got on the table. I mean, who's coming back first? Mills or Darby? I mean, Darby could take some time for him to come back. So Mills, depending on how that foot is.
I think they roll into the season with the same starting 3. But it's going to be a battle. Those guys are going to have to earn it. That's the benefit to having all the yeah. You like that.
Doug said
he's going to bring out the best of them. Yeah.
Nothing, especially in the defensive backfield, a cornerback position is concerned. Nothing's going to be handed to anybody.
Yeah.
Like just because you signed Darby to a 1-year deal doesn't mean he's starting on the outside. He's going to have to earn that. Same thing with Mills. Same thing with Jones, especially Jones. This is like a make or break season for Jones. Like, look, you were taken in the second round. We shelved you. And Gail and I were there at the draft celebrating all of it, and we thought it was a great pick at the time. Prove us right. Like, you gotta prove us right, especially in that. So they're going to have to battle and earn it out. You got any more of them?
I got one last one. This one's from @Dustin Troxel. I can't believe no one said how much they're not concerned with the linebacker position because that is my number one concern. And everyone's preaching about running back, but linebacker is my number one concern right now.
Yeah. Understandably so. Understandably so. I think you see Bradham move into the middle position, You know, Camus, I think, is a serviceable outside linebacker. You know, they're running their nickel 70% of the time. Yeah, they're a 4-3 defense, but they're running 4-3 nickel 70% of the time. Again, going back to the personnel packages, what offenses around the league are doing now with 3 wide receivers.
We're running a lot of safeties, too, you know, with this big dime and Sendeo signing. You know, that, like during the playoffs, 64% of the time, we're running 3 safeties.
Jenkins pretty much been a linebacker,
60% the year before that, running 3 safeties on the field, so I'm good.
All right. Sounds great.
Gail's good.
Hey, we appreciate you tuning into this episode of 4th and Jawn. Listen, tomorrow starts the TeePublic sale for our T-shirts. For the first time ever, instead of, like, they run sales all the time with $14, they're going to be $13. They're running the biggest sale that they ever have, so please, we got some new designs up, including a little bit of a D-Jax there. I dropped it today, so make sure you check that out. Again, rate and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at 4th and Jawn. Give us a like on Facebook, and until next time, E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
You want Eagles football? We're talking Eagles football. You're listening to 4th and Jawn. Wait, what the is a Jawn anyway?
Hey, that number 10 jersey's pretty hot. What you think?
Or donkey.
Dang, that's kind of dope.
The legend! And my fuse is lit! Ooh, baby, that's enough, baby. You're too hot, baby.
Let's talk about these Eagles fans. Go, man! Go!